Hey, my friend, my name's Adam with Faith Labs. We do daily devotionals for busy Christians. Today's is titled The Woman Who Killed with a Tent Peg. Let's get into it. A woman stands over a sleeping man, holding a tent peg in one hand and a hammer in the other. He's an enemy general who's just lost the biggest battle of his life, and she's offered him sanctuary in her home. He trusts her completely. He's asked her to stand guard while he rests. In about 30 seconds, she's going to drive that metal spike through his skull with such force that it pins his head to the ground beneath him. And when she's done, she'll calmly walk outside and show off her handiwork to the army that's hunting him. I thought I was pretty versed on biblical violence. We've all heard about David and Goliath and Samson bringing down the pillars, but man, this is something entirely different. This is the story of Jael, a housewife who became a bit of a war hero in the span of 10 minutes. And what she did was so brutal, so calculated that they're still singing songs about it 3,000 years later. You know that moment when you're pushed into the corner and you realize that you have exactly two choices: fight or die, when being nice suddenly becomes a luxury that you simply can't afford. I was in Judges when I stumbled upon this woman named Jael. And the first thing that hit me was how ordinary she seemed. She's not a prophet, not a judge, not a warrior. She's just someone's wife living in a tent community. But in the next 5 verses, she's going to do something so savage, it could change the entire course of the war. Suddenly, I'm sitting there asking myself, what does it take to turn a homemaker into an assassin? And why is God completely fine with it? Let me try and set the stage the best I can, because see, this is not happening in a vacuum. Israel has been under brutal oppression for 20 years by a Canaanite king named Jabin. Think North Korea level control. His military commander is this guy named Sisera, who has 900 iron chariots, basically ancient tanks. The Israelites, they're terrified. They're hiding in caves, paying crushing taxes, and watching their children grow up as slaves. For 2 decades, Sisera has been undefeatable. But then God tells a prophetess named Deborah that today's the day. She calls up this reluctant general named Barak and says, God's going to deliver Sisera into your hands. See, there's just one catch. Barak refuses to go unless Deborah comes with him. He's basically saying, look, I'm not fighting this guy without you. And Deborah agrees. But she tells him something that probably stung to his ego. Quote, because of your hesitation, the honor of killing him, it won't go to you. God's going to deliver him to the hand of a woman. The battle happens exactly as God promised. Sisera's iron chariots, they get bogged down from mud from this sudden storm. His unbeatable army proves to be not so unbeatable. Soldiers are dying everywhere, and Sisera realizes this is about to become a complete massacre. So he abandons his chariot and runs. Picture this feared general, the man who's terrorized Israel for 20 years, sprinting across the countryside on foot, probably looking over his shoulder every few seconds. See, he needs somewhere to hide, somewhere safe. And that's when he spots something perfect, a cluster of tents belonging to the Kenites. Now here's the crucial detail. The Kenites were supposed to be neutral in this war. They'd made peace territories with both sides. So naturally, he thinks he's found a safe sanctuary. And that's when she appears. Picture her stepping out of her tent as this sweaty, panicked general approaches. She probably recognizes him immediately. Everyone knows what he looks like. I mean, this is essentially the boogeyman who's haunted their region for decades. But instead of running or screaming, she does something that should have definitely shot a red flag or two his way. She invites him in. Come in, my lord. Come in. Don't be afraid. The Hebrew suggests that she's being overly polite, almost theatrical in her hospitality, like someone laying it on really thick. But Sisera's desperate, so he follows her into her tent. And this is where she starts playing chess while Sisera's playing checkers. He asks for water. He's probably crazy dehydrated from running so far, but she doesn't give him water. She gives him milk, warm milk. Let's think about that for a second. This isn't just hospitality. In that culture, offering milk instead of water was significant. Milk was precious. It was expensive. It was what you would give an honored guest. But here's what Sisera doesn't realize. Warm milk also makes you a bit sleepy. Your mother ever give you warm milk to help put you to bed? It always had a tendency to make me a bit drowsy. Now I can only imagine how drowsy it would make me after being exhausted from battle and from running for your life. So she covers him with a blanket, right? She tucks him in like a child. And Sisera gives her instructions that seal his fate. Stand in the doorway of the tent. If anyone comes and asks if there's a man here, say no, end quote. Think about what he's actually asking. He wants this woman to risk her life lying to armed soldiers, to make herself complicit in harboring a fugitive, to put herself and potentially her entire family in danger, all while he takes a nice, safe nap. Sisera falls asleep and Jael quietly picks up a tent peg and a hammer. Look, tent pegs aren't little stakes that we get at Walmart, not those little plastic things, right? These were substantial iron rods, 8-10 inches long, designed to anchor very, very heavy fabric in desert winds. And Jael knows exactly how to use them. See, this is her daily life, setting up and breaking down tents, driving pegs into hard ground. She quietly approaches the sleeping general, this man who's terrorized her people for 20 years, who just asked her to lie to protect him, who represents everything that's kept Israel in bondage. And she drives that tent peg through his temple with such force that it goes completely through his skull and into the ground beneath him. The text here is almost clinical about it. Quote, "So he died," end quote. Like she just checks something off her to-do list. Well, here's what gets me. What gets me is what happens next. Barak shows up, still chasing Sisera. He's probably got a whole search party with him, going tent to tent, looking for this fugitive general. And Jael walks up to meet them, completely calm, and she says something that gives me chills. Quote, "Come, I will show you the man you're looking for," end quote. She leads him into her tent like she's giving a house tour. And there's Sisera pinned to the ground with a tent peg through his skull. Mission accomplished. But here's what kind of rewired my understanding of this story. Jael wasn't driven by rage or emotion. This was calculated. It was strategic. She saw an opportunity and she took it. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was warfare. And suddenly I'm realizing that everything Jael did, the invitation, the milk, the blanket, the guard duty request, it was all part of the plan. See, she was luring him into complete vulnerability. She turned her own home into a killing field. See, we celebrate her as a hero. Deborah literally sings a victory song about her, calling her most blessed of women. But let's be real. If this happened today, if someone invited an enemy into their home and killed them with a tent peg, we would call it murder. So what's the difference? Context. Jael wasn't living in peacetime suburbs, right? It's not today's world back then. She was living in occupied territory under a military director who'd been crushing her people for 20 years. Sometimes heroism, it looks like hospitality, and sometimes it looks like driving a tent peg through someone's skull. This story taught me something uncomfortable about survival. There are moments when being nice becomes complicit with evil, when playing it safe means enabling oppression. Jael had a choice. She could have genuinely helped this guy, could have helped him escape, could have honored the neutrality of her territory. She could have practiced traditional hospitality, kept her hands clean. Instead, she chose liberation over neutrality, justice over safety. And I keep thinking about that moment when she picked up the hammer and the tent peg. This wasn't a trained soldier or a professional assassin. This was a housewife who had to become a warrior in about 30 seconds. What does that kind of decision do to a person, right? How do we go from making dinner to making war? The most beautiful part of this story is that Jael didn't set out to be a hero. She was just someone who recognized her moment and she had the courage to take it. She's another perfect example that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when the stakes are high enough. That heroes, they don't always wear armor or carry swords. Sometimes they just got to have access to a tent peg and a hammer, and to have the nerves to use them. Let me ask you this, my friend. What oppression are you living under that everyone else has accepted as normal? What evil have you been told to accommodate in the name of keeping peace? As contradictory as it seems, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is pick up whatever weapon you have and end what needs to end. Jael saved her people with a tent peg, not because she was trained for it, not because she was chosen for it, because when the moment came, she just didn't hesitate. Sometimes the hero in this story is just the person who's willing to do what needs to be done, even if that means getting blood on your hands. Hey friend, again, I'm Adam with Faith Labs. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, Rock on. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes. If you wouldn't mind to comment, like, and share on the video, it really does mean the world to me. And make sure you stick around for tomorrow's devotional because it'll be a good one. Hope to see you there. As always, onward, and God bless you.